Hello everyone, this is another episode of my YouTube channel Reading Aloud. Today I'm going to read to you the story Mrs. Wobble the Waitress. It is written by Alan Albert and illustrated by Janet Albert. Here we go. Mrs. Wobble was a waitress. She liked her work. The customers liked her. The only trouble was she wobbled. One day Miss Wobble wobbled with a bowl of soup. The soup landed on the customer's dog. Mrs. Wobble got told off. The next day, Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a roast chicken. The roast chicken landed on the customer's head. Mrs. Wobble got told off again. The next day, Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a plate of jelly. The jelly landed on the manager's head. Mrs. Wobble got the sack. Mrs. Wobble went home to her family. Mr. Wobble cooked her tea. The children tried to cheer her up. "Cheer up, Ma," they said. "You will find another job in another cafe." But there were no other cafes. That was the only one in the town. Mrs. Wobble knew this. "There are no other cafes," she said, and she began to cry. The children did not like to see their mother cry. I made them cry. It made their father cry too. Then Mr. Wobble had an idea. "I know what we can do," he said. "We can open a cafe of our own." "Where?" said Miss Wobble. "Where?" said Miss Wobble. "Where?" said Master Wobble. "Here," said Mr. Wobble. "We can turn the house into a cafe." The next day, the Wobble family turned their house into a cafe. They cleaned and painted. They moved the chairs and tables around. They changed the curtains. Mr. Wobble went shopping. He bought meat and vegetables, fruits and fish, cheese and chicken, flour and a few other things. The children went shopping too. They bought 2 pairs of roller skates and a fishing net. "What are those for?" said Mr. Wobble. "It's a surprise, Pa," the children said. "You wait and see." In the evening, Mrs. Wobble made waiters' clothes for her children, and a cook's hat for her husband. Mr. Wobble and the children made the menus. The children went to bed. Mr. and Mrs. Wobble stepped outside. They looked at their new cafe. "It's the big day tomorrow," Mr. Wobble said. "Are We are going to make our fortunes." "Yes," said Miss Wobble. "The only trouble is, what if I wobble?" The next day, the children woke up early. "It's the big day today, Ma," Master Wobble said. He gave his mother a cup of tea in bed. Miss Wobble gave her father a cup of tea in bed. "We're going to make our fortunes today, Pa," she said. After breakfast, Mr. Wobble began cooking. Mrs. Wobble and Miss Wobble laid the tables. Master Wobble went round the town with a sandwich board. The first customers arrived. "Oh dear," said Miss Wobble. "What if I—" Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a bowl of soup. "Help!" said the customer. Miss Wobble skated to the rescue. She caught the soup in another bowl. "That's clever," the customer said. Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a roast chicken. "Wow!" said the customer. Master Wobble skated to the rescue. He caught the roast chicken in a net. "Hooray!" the customer said. Then all the other customers cheered. Hooray! Hooray! This is more fun than a circus, they said. That night, Miss Wobble counted the money. Looks like a fortune to us, Ma, the children said. Mr. Wobble gave them a hug. And we owe it all to all the famous juggling waiters, he said. The next day, there was a big crowd in the street. The people had come from miles around to see the famous juggling waiters. The children peeped out. There's a big crowd in the street, Ma, they said. Yes, said Miss Wobble, and she began to laugh. Now, the only trouble is, what if I don't wobble? The end. That's the story of Miss Wobble the Waitress. Thank you.